Elena Rybakina did what no woman has done in over 15 years, win Wimbledon after dropping the first set. Now, how does she do it? I'll break down her finals triumph and highlight its significance here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today. Rybakina defeated world number 2 Ons Jabeur 3-6, 6-2, 6-2 to win Wimbledon and claim her first ever major title. Now, it was actually Ons who came out on fire, breaking Rybakina in the third game of the opening set and pulling off some exceptional shots. Jabeur was just the more solid player out there, hitting fewer errors and extracting some from Rybakina's racket with her incorporation of variety and just making a lot of balls back in play. Ons did have a few break opportunities at 3-1 up to go up a double break, but was not able to cash in. She still held her own though and steamrolled on serve thanks to her sublime placement and high first serve percentage. The first set stats say it all, as Ons made 75% of first serves in and won 80% of first and second serve points. Rybakina meanwhile made just 58% of first serves, won 53% of first serve points, and just 50 of second. Some of this was due to Jabeur's excellent returning, as she anticipated where her opponent was going with her serves. Ons wasn't afraid to attack Rybakina's serve either, which kept the Kazakhstanian from getting the upper hand in the baseline rallies. Jabeur sealed the opening set after breaking Rybakina to love. Now, I expected Jabeur to continue her high level of play into the second set, as all the momentum was on her side. However, she got broken right off the bat after making some routine rally ball errors. She did have a chance to break back the following game, but just couldn't bring it when she needed to. The 2-1 game in the second was probably one of the biggest of the entire match, as Ons had 3 breakpoint opportunities. She wasn't able to claim any of them due to Elena stepping up and playing more aggressively, while Ons took her foot off the gas a little bit. After she failed to capitalize on that opportunity, Jabeur's game dipped badly as she was throwing in some more double faults and uncharacteristic unforced errors to hand Rybakina the second break and ultimately the second set. The second set stats looked much different, as this time it was Rybakina winning more points off her first and second serves. Elena did a much better job this time around of hitting her spots on serve, while also punishing Ons for her weaker second serves. Rybakina was able to earn a lot more free and easy points on her serve, which aided in her not being broken for really the rest of the entire match. I expected Ons to regain her first set form in the decider, but Rybakina didn't back off one bit and broke the Tunisian to start. Elena did well in that second set to improve her footwork and overall movement, as well as the depth she consistently got on her shots, which prevented Jabeur from imposing herself. She kept this up in the third set, not having any notable dips, which I was really surprised about. Ons did have a big opening, going up 40 love at 3-2 with 3 consecutive break points. This was the nail in the coffin, as Elena had her Kenin 2020 Aussie Open moment, saving all 3 break points with some sublime play before closing out the game. Jabeur definitely was deflated after losing that game and ended up dropping serve once again to get Rybakina the opportunity to serve for the match at 5-2. Jabeur did gain a slight 15-30 opening, but she totally threw it away, allowing Rybakina to seal victory. Now, first giving credit to Elena, she did a great job of just hanging in there and weathering the storm because she didn't play half bad in that first set. Ons just came out guns a-blazing. Rybakina just stayed the course and elevated her game when she sensed an opening, and the rest was history. Now, I know Jabeur will be deeply disappointed with this result, as she talked about how much winning Wimbledon meant to her, but she should still be very proud of this run to the finals. She's a trailblazer for Tunisia and the Arab people across the globe, and I know that she'll be back for another chance at winning this title. I do think the pressure of pulling off such an achievement for her people played a role here, as she honestly had much more to lose here than Elena. Ons is about 5 years older too, so the opportunities won't be as plentiful. Now, this occasion aside, Jabeur is prone to having some lapses in play, like against Mama Maria in the second set of the semis. Same with Boskova in the first set of the quarterfinals. You cannot afford to do this in the Slam final, and this only tells me that she simply was not ready to win a major. She was definitely passive in the bigger moments, moments, especially in that third set, just making uncharacteristic errors, which lessened the pressure for Rybakina. Ons also abandoned her winning strategy of incorporating more variety to mess with Elena's rhythm. Elena wasn't nearly as comfortable at net when brought in against her will, and about 90% of the time, Jabeur won the point whenever she drop shotted. She went away from this a bit in the second and third sets and tried going more pound for pound against Rybakina, which was a bad play, as the Kazakhstanian is superior in that aspect. In terms of pressure and handling this big moment, I thought Rybakina would crumble a bit more, especially towards the end of the third set, but she held her nerve nicely. Remember, Elena had been notorious for letting huge leads slip, as she fumbled both the semifinal and bronze medal matches at last year's Olympics, which she should have won both. Jabeur had also been prone to faltering in the pressure moments, but I felt that her success at Madrid and other big tournaments this year would give her the mental edge. Also, aside from the Olympics, Rybakina hadn't been in these big pressure moments, as she only had 250s next to her name. I think Elena learned a lot from Tokyo, as she was far less tentative and more steady overall. Once again, I was surprised and disappointed that Jabeur wasn't able to put up more of a fight towards the end, as she just made some shockingly inopportune mistakes, especially in that final game. You've got to make your opponent play and earn that slam, but Rybakina was kind of gifted it off of poor mistakes, which is partly why her victory celebration was so nonchalant. I was disappointed but not surprised by Elena's lack of reaction, because she's just always ice cold and doesn't show a lot of her emotions. I think this actually helped her a lot today, as she didn't give anything away, even when things weren't going her way. Meanwhile, Ons was visibly frustrated when the scoreboard wasn't in her favor, which gave Rybakina, I'm sure, some added confidence. I also feel like the lead-up matches prior to this one were crucial. I said this in my match preview, which I unfortunately couldn't post, but Rybakina had a much tougher road to the final in my opinion than Ons. Andreescu, Zhang, and Halep are very worthy adversaries, but Jabeur's toughest opponent on paper was Elisa Mertens. Her quarters and semis opponents, Voskova and Maria, allowed her to slack off for a set, but against a better, more experienced player like Rybakina, those lapses won't cut it. Hopefully Ons can take this as a learning lesson for future big matches and is sharper there. My tennis Twitter friend Pat said this, but it gives you the vibes of a Halep who struggled initially in slam finals, but after a few tries finally had that big breakthrough. I am disappointed that Ons lost, because it would have been a huge moment in history if she had taken the title. However, I am glad that Rybakina was able to claim it, because she just was the best player this fortnight in my opinion. Her match against Halep alone was slam worthy, as she totally dismantled the 2019 champ, who was actually a big favorite to win the tournament at that point. Rybakina was a bit of a surprise champion, not only because of Halep's dominance mid-tournament, but because she kind of came out of nowhere prior to the latter stages. While Elena is a top 25 player and has knocked on the door for a bit, she hadn't done much this season aside from her Adelaide Finals appearance back in January. She lost early in her grass lead-up events, and I had her losing to Andreescu here, who many people felt would go deep, including myself. Rybakina took out the Canadian and quietly moved through the draw until sneaking up these past few rounds, surprising the GP with her Halep and Jabeur wins. I've been looking for Rybakina to do big things for a while. I've frequently had her going deep in my tournament previews, but she never seemed to match my expectations, losing matches that she honestly had no business losing. She has an excellent complete game, huge serve, great return, and ground strokes. The only glaring weakness I see is her comfort ability at the net, but that's something that can be worked on easily. You would kind of expect Elena to blast into sports superstardom a bit with her first major title coming at Wimbledon and only being 23 years old nonetheless. However, I don't necessarily see that happening because, for one, she doesn't have that huge personality that can attract the mainstream masses, I feel. I'm also skeptical of whether she can back up this big run or whether she goes through a slump like Raducanu. And then two, this year's Wimbledon has felt the least least Wimbledon like with the lack of ranking points and the other top contenders. By the way, even though Russian and Belarusian players were barred from competing at the championships, Elena is Russian born and raised. She would have represented her home country, but the Russian Tennis Federation didn't see her potential early on and wouldn't support her financially as they did her other counterparts. That's when Elena went and represented Kazakhstan to receive greater funding, and here she is as their first single slam champion in the history of tennis. She definitely has the last laugh because had she stayed with Russia, she wouldn't have even been able to play this tournament. It is a shame that Elena won't be able to gain any ranking points as she'll stay 23rd come Monday. It is interesting how Rybakina's had her best results at events that don't give out any points, first the Olympics and now Wimbledon. We'll see if anything changes when she starts playing for points again for the remaining tournaments. Then Ons will be affected too as she'll drop back down from 2 to number 5 in the world. I'm sorry, but this tournament is really giving me strong exhibition vibes. I can't help it. Also, Wimbledon, please implement Hawkeye Live for next year's tournament. There were too many incorrect line calls during this final. Too many. Going back to this final, I thought it was pretty decent, but definitely nothing special. Neither player played their best at the same time for a decent period, and it was kind of reminiscent of this year's Australian Open final between Barty and Collins. This final honestly didn't even feel like a slam final to me. The tension, the pressure, the drama, the major final feels were all absent. Maybe if it were Halep and Jabeur, it'd be different, but I don't know, something just didn't feel right. Is it just me or did y'all feel that too? Let me know in the comments. Nonetheless, congratulations to both Elena and Ons for an incredible fortnight, and I wish you all the best for the rest of the season. Really quickly, I did want to shout out the other champions on today, including Angela Okutuyi. My apologies, Angela, if I pronounced your name incorrectly. Angela won the girls doubles title and became the first Kenyan Slam champion, so big ups to her for that. That's all I have for y'all today, and let me know in the comments your thoughts on this final and how you think Elena and Ons will be impacted for the rest of the year. Also, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post the men's final preview. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time here on Grand Slam Tennis News Today.